Let's get right into the nerfs.
Okay, nerfs.
Here we go.
Steve.
Are you?
Excuse me?
Unbuffs.
Are you
we have
kidding me?
Ash going
Oh
back
my
to her
god.
ancestral
Okay, let's just
homeland
turn
of
this shit
Avarosa
off,
at
bro.
Quest
Literally,
F5.
they're literally trolling.
Really,
This
we were
is
finding
so
that
dumb.
Ash just really needed that extra level up to compete
No,
in the
you
old environment.
don't.
Now with rotation, we actually think that she's just leveling up way too fast. Being able to just kind of end the game with a crystal arrow really early, get that extra
Hire
health
people
early.
the way that they are,
So we just want to make sure that you can't necessarily get
This
that
is so
Ash
bad.
online,
This makes literally no
and get her
sense.
leveled up so fast.
I mean, it's what they did
end
to
the game
Viego.
early.
Like they
We
nerfed
also
Viego for
are
fucking
changing
no
Reckoning
reason.
to 7. There were a lot of changes we could do. We actually considered other unbuffs.
Reckoning
like
at 7 is
Avarosa and
there's
Hearthguard
no
that we
reason
felt
why
were
you
not
need to,
necessarily
this is just
going
so
to
dumb.
hit the deck that much.
I mean, perfect. Now
Reckoning
no
was
one can
really a
convince me to
card
put
that,
Reckoning in
especially
my
with
deck
the
ever again.
removal
So
options now
perfect.
available in standard.
People will
it's
stop
actually
trolling
really
by putting the
hard
bad
to
card in.
Reckoning
So
is so
a
good
Reckoning,
in
and oftentimes
Karma
you're kind of held
But you know.
hostage when you're forced to sort of play around it for multiple turns, waiting for them to tap out. It really felt like a situation where Reckoning was the card that was really pushing that deck to be super strong in the meta. So we push it up to 1 mana. It'll be a bit more transparent, a bit easier
If
to
the
play
whole
around, but we'll
patch
still,
balance
in
is like
combination with
this,
Frostbites and
game is
Trifarians,
ripped.
This
be
is
able
a
to get you
horrible
that
start.
huge
This
board
is a
wipe.
horrible start.
Horrible start.
Yeah.
Why is everybody? I don't know. I guess it just makes sense. Like in metas where we were like Ash LeBlanc is good, everyone's like Ash LeBlanc is trash. And now that Ash
because
LeBlanc is like,
I mean, they're obviously nerfing for an average player who has no idea what's happening, and that is fine, I guess.
Let's go.
For an average
Is
player,
it
these
though?
nerfs are fine.
Next one, Frank. Do you want to talk
okay,
about
this one's
Okay.
good. This one.
the
This
talk
one
of
we
the
want. This
town?
one we
Samira's all
expected.
out.
Finally.
Whatever.
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, Samira.
Broken ass deck. Drew, get it out of here.
Super broken.
Really versatile champ. Seen a lot of play, a lot of different
It broke my
places,
brain
a lot of different
cells.
deck speeds. There were a lot of ways we tried and talked about approaching.
Yeah, this one was just
tone
too
it down a
like
bit, and all out was definitely the big one, just as an extremely
a 1 mana
cheap
plus
and
2
versatile
plus
spell
2.
that allowed you to
In
protect her
Noxus
as well as your
burst.
other.
Yeah, I thought they might
like,
reduce the unplundered cost
so what
as
we're
well,
gonna do
but
all out is just lower
not cost the buff. Like make it like +1/+0 and then make it +2/+1.
This will let people playing against Samira have
You have
more
Brothers Bond.
opportunity to interact
Maybe.
with her,
Brothers
remove her
Bond,
from
you
the
have things
board,
like,
or just like use removal a little
the
bit
Vlad
more
one, the
reliably.
burst Vlad one.
This is
Especially with
much
it being
stronger
a
than
champ
Brothers
spell,
Bond
you know,
still.
you get as a
What?
Samira player, you get access
This is
to a
still
ton of
much
all
better
outs,
than
and again,
much stronger than Brothers
liberate
Bond.
some from like Wiggly or
Even
Father
with the nerf.
Fury.
I mean, no,
So we're really
just the
looking at
front,
this
the
as like
first
a way
buff.
to
No,
take some raw
Okay,
health
sure.
and protection out of the deck, which
Yeah.
we're hoping will go.
obviously when you add the second effect, yeah.
Yeah, usually I think that like Plunder, we like giving you a bonus for Plunder, right?
Yeah, they nerfed
But in a
Ash
specific
less
situation
than
with
more than
Samira,
Samira
it's
so far.
really easier than ever to get Plunder, especially with Samira's
so
all
dumb.
out, since that applies that you have a Plunder
I feel
enabler in
betrayed,
Flare
just like
already,
the Viego
which
one.
really was making Samira
Yeah, what do you think?
both
Are they gonna nerf Flare
so
as well?
easy to protect, but also just good
They're
on
gonna nerf
defense.
Flare?
Like,
They have to nerf
all-outing
Samira
my
more. They
Samira,
have.
leveling her up. Now she has 5 health.
Well,
That was just really too strong
you're giving them
for a
too
lot
much
of decks
benefit
to
of the
compete
doubt at
with.
this point.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean, it's
trying.
like also the tale as old as time. We've seen like Shapestone, Twin
Right.
Disciplines, Sharp Side, all these like cheap spells
so
that
sad.
both do protection and offense really
I feel
well.
like it's
and
just
we're
Viego and Ash paying
pick
for
a
the
lane
sins
for
of other
which one
things.
we want it to excel at.
Chat is saying surely this isn't the only thing hitting the Samira Fizz deck, and that brings us to the
Our
next.
oh
slide.
god.
Frank, do you
Oh,
wanna-
thank
Finally.
God! Verbal
Yeah,
keg but
that is- it is
Thank
the
God.
only
Okay,
thing.
saved. Patch
It's-
saved. Patch saved.
Saved.
It's
Patch
That
saved.
stupid ass card can
Wait.
leave forever.
We talked
Jesus
about,
Christ.
like,
So we're
well,
looking
we
to
knew in
really
front of
hit the
everybody
spell
knew.
spam,
Yes.
focus
One less
version
But
health,
of
Verbal
Samira,
can
and
get
then-
fucking
the way that
lost
Samira
forever
plays
and never
is
come back,
like
thank
the
you.
Leona
I hate
Daybreak
that card.
decks is playing
Okay.
fair
Talk-
game,
toxic?
just trying to like level her up. and
Good
get
cop,
her
bad
going.
Verbal is a single card that represents every single thing I
Whereas these
hate
spell
about this
spam
card
decks
game.
are, like, really trying to
I'm not even
It's-
kidding.
it's
Every
not
single
verbal,
thing.
no, there has to be more.
It is verbal. It's RNG, it's spell-based bullshit, it's cheating mana, it's elusive. Every single thing I hate about the card game is represented in that card. Every single thing. There's not a single mechanic that I hate that's not in that card.
Slow down the
But look
turn,
how
you get
cute
the
it
free
is.
Verbal, and
Sure,
we're just
I
gonna
How could you
take
hate
I do like the
Verbal.
art style, that is true.
I think she's a really powerful back row engine, and
Well, yeah, Burble is
combining
screwing.
this
Do you
with
think
all
that
out,
plus
we're
2
really
cost
just
is
gonna
even
take some health out of the
Yes,
that
I
much?
think it's a lot too.
challenge her or use damage-based removal. We
not
want
enough
it
to
be a
kill
little
a card,
easier.
right? Or what do you think?
Yeah,
Maybe.
This is an interesting change.
I feel like
for
it
the
is.
screen too, because I feel like
It will.
Burble is
It
just-
would need
is
I
like
feel like the
super
new
broken
spells
decks.
are so
You know?
much easier to proc it, so maybe not.
Burblefish is so cute.
Yeah, but the
That
whole
damn
game has
smile.
progress, right? So if Burblefish
I mean,
now
like,
with the
a lot of
nerf
people are
is
saying
power
that's
level of
true, but I
Burblefish
feel
2
like
years
I'm
ago,
still
that's
gonna
not
get,
good
like,
enough
destroyed
anymore,
by,
right?
like a Burblefish deck on ladder when I'm not expecting it.
Oh yeah, we definitely nerfed it in a way where like dedicated spell decks are still gonna get 1 or 0 mana Burblefishes for sure.
Yeah.
It just might not happen on like round 5 with a rally. You know,
George said
so.
this is a 5th Burble nerf.
Combined with the
Wait, really?
Oh yeah. Anywho, let's get into.
I think I've only
the
been
next
around for
change,
one.
Steve, because Samira Leona
Okay,
has
exactly what everyone
Yeah.
expected. Perfect, perfect.
Yeah, so this is kind
This
of
is
more
literally what we
similar
expected.
to.
And we
other
assume at this point that
unbuffs
Samira
is
has
that,
survived exactly how
first
she
off, we're
is,
taking
right?
Leona's quest from 4 to 5.
She's still
I
strongest
feel like
champion
they would
again.
have put it. They would have
Guardian's
put it
house
after
down
the
1.
all
Yeah,
out,
exactly.
right?
This is
If they
actually
would've
one of we look
touched
back at this
Blair or
rework
Samira.
when we originally reworked
Okay.
Leona, I believe last year as one of our more
Okay.
successful rework packages because
is
Leona
kinda
was
good so far. I
basically
feel like
never
the Ash one
playable
was
in
a
any
little-
decks, and she came out and at the
Yeah.
time was
But
balanced.
this so far is
Made
good.
the meta, but
I
then
like
ended up
this.
falling out eventually. Now with rotation, we actually see her being incredibly strong, just curving out with Daybreaks. One thing that we've experienced is that Leona just comes down leveled up on 5 like so often. It almost feels too free and unsatisfying in a way
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we don't really love where her design is at 4 because it just means she comes
I
down.
mean, her
level
design
and
is still
there's
gonna
not
be
much
shit
to
after
look
this,
for.
but
Putting your quest up to 5
she's
both
slightly less
just
strong.
prevents that repeated barrier from
I mean,
The
technically,
ball's
it
shrinking.
still comes
Oh,
down
makes
yeah.
your defensive capabilities a lot
Leveled,
worse. Like you're gonna get that first Leona Daybreak stun on her level 2.
I mean, it's much
about
more
1 round
harder
later,
for
which
her to
means
become
those
leveled.
decks can be raced with by other
Hitting all
aggressive
4
strategies.
turns.
And then Sun Guardian really is just such a snowball machine, especially now that
Yeah,
we
that
see
card was
removal
so
is toned
annoying.
down and the format is a bit slower than we saw before standard
We
rotation.
even considered, we were
we
talking
just
about
want to
like
make sure that players
2-2, obviously, I think
can't
everybody
just
was on board with that, but
completely
2-1.
overtake the game with a Sun Guardian
2-1
on
might have been
3,
a lot.
followed by a few more
'Cause,
Daybreaks.
I mean, it
Maybe
comes out
one
as a
two.
3-2,
Maybe
right?
one
We're
two.
really optimistic that you know
1-2.
Daybreak can still be a viable package both
I
for
think the health
mid-range
is the
and
biggest
aggressive
problem,
decks, but we're
so.
really taking
Yeah,
some
so
of
you
the
don't want to
snowball
touch it
potential
even
out.
more, right? You do like a mid
I really-
Yeah, I mean, I think-
between
Okay,
two
go ahead.
1
No,
and
you
2
go ahead,
is
Chris.
1 2,
Go
right?
ahead.
Okay. I was
We
just
don't
saying, I just really
fully
wanted
overnerf it,
to
right?
strongly +1.
That's fine, yeah.
I think from the design side, we're really happy.
Okay,
with
we
the
just need set
package.
something in
Still
Karma
shine
set, and the
implement
patch is
we did
great.
to it, and we are pretty
Karma?
hopeful.
Except
that
Dash.
Rage?
I'm
we
willing
tested,
willing to
like,
The coin, it
sacrifice
has
Dash
to be
for
the
it.
coin
5
thing.
different
Karma
iterations of like
interaction with the
Sun
coin.
Guardian stats to make sure we found a one where we felt like it would still get to do its thing. So definitely not trying to just like kill Daybreak from the metagame with this
Yeah.
one.
I feel like both of you operate and like play the game at a very high level, and I'm trying to get to a higher level. But I feel like Daybreak is a really good like archetype, especially for newer players.
Archetype.
And when I wasn't
Archetype.
familiar
Yeah.
with the game to kind of get used to lore.
No, Patch will be great if they
I-
didn't touch
I
Samira
enjoyed
Varus.
Leona's time in the sun.
It
Okay.
warms
I
my
feel like
heart
Samira
because
Varus becomes
literally
much worse in a
Daybreak
different
is
kind of meta, so
designed as
maybe
a more
we
newer
will be
player
fine.
archetype.
Mhm.
Like the idea, like,
I mean, what are we
oh,
gonna
I just
get
play my units on
once
curve.
the-
Momentous
get a
is the
little bit
Momentous
better,
is the only thing that's
as I
getting
go
there,
is like
or
definitely
Varus himself,
Leona's
which I doubt.
original intent.
So there was a really interesting
What's gonna
question
happen
in
when
chat.
this-
it was
when this
actually about
goes
the
through?
earlier changes, but I want to ask you guys.
We're gonna
while it's
see
still
more
fresh. So some people were asking,
PNC? I
why
don't know.
didn't we touch Shelly?
Awesome.
Like, what was the
Yeah.
decision to go the Burblefish in Inferno route? And did you guys consider Shelly
No, bro.
as an option?
We did consider Shelly.
Rock,
I think that
T-Rock fucking
generally
Saint
we
got
find
timed out.
Shelly
Why?
is this card
In the
that is
main
played
chat,
in high synergy decks.
He wrote,
Nice.
One
"Samir
thing that
Varus
we
doesn't
wanted
get
to do is
nerfed.
not
I know what I'm
necessarily
spamming on Wednesday."
kill Bilgewater's like
timed out
spell
for that.
spam regional
Nice.
strength too much. Like
Heresy.
we have
Can't-
rotated some of that package.
can't talk
we
shit
want to
about
make
the
sure
patch.
that
Yeah.
Burblefish and Shelly can still be played and like
But
non.
why
Yeah,
would
unpredictable.
Monty
Stuff
says
we
no
might
way
see in the
patch is
future
great if they don't
with
touch
Bilgewater
Samir
that
What are they
uses
gonna
the spell
touch?
spam.
Momentous other than-
It definitely is kind of an
Yeah,
outlier,
no,
though. In my
Momentous.
experience playing a lot of games, it's almost
Some people said to touch
it's really
the-
Shelly is like
the spell
loudly
shield.
strong, but it's usually something else that
What?
is actually beating you. It's like, well, if they didn't have a bunch of
Yeah,
zero
I
mana
don't know.
Burblefish,
I don't-
then
I don't
Shelly wouldn't do
think
anything.
so.
Or if they
That
didn't
makes
have a
no
level
sense,
Samira
I
or
think.
Fizz.
Spend his auto
So it's
time
really
on the
hard
fish.
because
Oh,
I
okay.
feel like Shelly, at least from my perspective, does a bit more of a like augmenting the deck, but isn't necessarily
We should have done a predict.
itself.
Oh, we should.
But yeah,
have.
we do see that
Yeah, but
AoE
do
health
what
buff
for
being
predict?
really, really strong with elusives,
know.
and it's something that we're
Well,
trying
the thing
to
is we didn't really
keep
do
in
a
mind.
list, we just
Obviously,
put it
with the
in the
Inferno
podcast.
and the all-out
Yeah.
buffs, we're making it harder to defend your units in that deck. So, for instance, against Shelly, one of the ways you can beat Shelly is actually by killing the other units that aren't Shelly, right? And then the Shelly doesn't buff herself. So that's kind of why we went that way. But when we do these changes, we do a lot of different iterations. Like we consider changes to Shelly. I don't know how deep we want to get into that today, but it was certainly something we thought about.
So we're not nerfing Shelly, but
Cool.
I mean, I guess we got the.
No, it would have been on the verbal slide.
No problem.
Yeah.
Verbal is fine. Yeah.
That's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Next,
wait.
Frank, you want to talk?
That's it?
Talk about karma?
No way, bro.
Yeah,
Is
so this
that-
is a pretty good example.
Is that it?
Of
There's
an
no way
unbuff
that this is
where,
it.
You know, back in the day when Karma and like big.
There's no way this is the only thing they do.
We, you know, gave Karma that extra health to like help her.
I mean,
Oh my
what if it
God,
was?
bro.
There's no way. Maybe it's a separate slide.
Force
It has to
removal
be.
and
Okay,
standard
sure.
and set the
Well, okay,
points.
Yeah,
Cool.
because that's not like a
Cool.
nerf to the card, it's like an
Taking that
interaction,
health
sure.
back. And definitely like a small-ish nerf to Karma, but we just want it to be
I
more of
mean,
an investment to put Karma into play, especially if you
sure.
ever have to put her in before.
But I
10.
don't-
To put Karma into
Give
play.
Your opponent a chance
This
to
isn't
remove her,
really-
and right now when she comes down on 10, she has 5 health, and 5 health is like might as well be a million a lot of the times. And,
Dice
you
to
know, in the past, we
aftershock.
used to see people
Deck is
play
dead now, isn't
more
it?
protection spells for their Karma.
Yeah, Dice to
to
Aftershock
have
is
that
4
health.
HP, right?
Hoping that this change
Because we play
will
Karma before
either
10, right?
let the opponent actually be able to remove Karma.
Also,
Sometimes,
Karma's
you
HP
know.
matters, right?
Pop
Because you don't play her
offers, or
automatically win the game
make
in
it
the
so
next
Karma player
action.
has to make those deck slot concessions and go back to playing protective spells
Sometimes you
for
just
her.
want to drop Karma before that. Okay, you just want to
Cool.
intimidate your
Yeah.
opponent.
Pretty
You can
self-explanatory.
generate
Do you have
random shit
anything you
cards,
wanna
right?
add about karma?
Yeah.
Steve?
No, it's
Log your
perfect.
hand.
I'm glad you
Wow.
understand.
Steve, you want to talk about this?
Okay,
one?
here we
Caustic
go,
Rift
here we go.
from Solo.
Yeah, so Caustic
Okay.
Ray is going up to 4
Wait.
mana.
The flow
Okay.
reduction is only
Flow
1.
Reduction is going to go up. So
Wait.
essentially what this means is the base
Wait,
cost for
that's-
Caustic Rift will be 4, but when you flow it,
That's a good
it'll
hit to
still be
PNC,
2,
I
which is
think.
kind of the same cost as it is now.
I thought they'd keep
And
it.
the reason we're making this change was
at
it was just a
my-
bit too easy for any
two
Piltover and
because
Zon deck
of
to
Seraphine.
play Caustic Rifts in their
I mean,
deck.
that has
And
nothing
we
to do
actually
with
saw a lot of
Seraphine.
decks that weren't really
I mean,
trying
we
to
literally
flow,
talked about it on the
play with
podcast.
Caustic
For the
Rift.
dumb
We've
solo.
seen how powerful things like
Oh,
TF
I
Red
thought.
Card
I
in the
mean, I thought
past
you were
can
talking
be,
about
just
the
that
Caustic
AoE
Rift.
damage.
I mean,
That's the one
Caustic
that
Rift is
flow
exactly what
reduction
we
plus
said.
1.
Especially could be particularly
It's literally
backbreaking.
exactly what
We
we
just want to
said.
make sure that if you do play Caustic Rift,
Well, wait, I'm
if you
confused.
want to play
Peepa.
it, you probably are going to have to.
Oh my
activate
God, she's
flow.
rolling in
The
the
big
It's
thing
4
about
and
this
2,
is it
exactly
makes
how
it
we
a
said.
bit more telegraphed, like as somebody playing on ladder,
She's
you know,
stuck in the
when your
sheets
opponent has
waiting
played 2
for
spells, you kind of know, oh, this is like maybe a Caustic Rift round. Versus when it's 4 mana,
Yeah, you
it
just
can't be
play
played. Even
formula
can't
now,
even be
that's
played on
true,
round 2 anymore, which really just makes it generically less of a good tool. But specifically when you're flowing, it's still quite powerful with kegs. I think that this card is going to maintain a lot of its power, but just that's going to require a little bit of synergy to achieve that power. And then
Yeah, I
Drum
love that.
Solo. This change is just kind of a long time coming. Actually, on the design team, we've been talking about
Yeah, the
this
reduction of
for
2 is
months.
kind
I
of a
feel like
lot
even before
for
rotation
the drawn
happened.
cards.
And that's the cost reduction on Drum Solo to go down to
Yeah,
1
because it was
instead of
effectively
2.
like 1 mana, right?
One of the big reasons we want to make this
I don't
change is
understand
one,
the
we find this to just be a
flow
little bit too efficient.
cost
When you're
plus
It's
one.
4
popping
and 2,
off,
exactly
especially
how
in
we
the late
exactly
game
how we
when
said it. It's 4 and 2.
essentially just costs 1
What's
mana.
the
without
flow
float,
reduction
The other
plus
thing that
1?
we see is that
Just read the card.
oftentimes
Stop looking at
players
text and read
having
the card.
cards reduced in their hand for
Look at the
long
picture.
periods of time.
Yes, I understand.
Much
I
with the
just don't-
telegraphing of cost.
Which part
Oh, wait,
is
the
it?
original one was that costs
Like your
1
opponent
less.
might have 0 mana
Okay, okay.
disintegrate that you don't know about, and then they spend all their mana and they play the disintegrate, and you're
Yu-Gi-Oh
like,
player,
oh,
okay.
I
I don't
didn't
read
really
that.
expect
It
that.
is.
And
It
that's
is
something
pretty
that
hard.
really we want to be careful
For
of.
best
because
draw card
that
in
just
Karma
leads
sets,
to some
nice.
really feel bad scenarios where you couldn't play around something. So yeah, we're dusting the power down, but we still think
I
that
feel like this
PZ,
is it
these
for the
changes are
nerfs.
both hitting regional tools. We still
I feel
want
like we're
PZ to be
coming to the
good
end
at
of the
dealing
nerfs, which is
AoE and
really
being good
scary.
at card drawing, but in the new standard
what are
environment, I
we-
just
are
think
we
that
missing
both of these
anything?
could use a bit of a hit.
The coin interaction?
I mean, random
feel
shit
too,
like
I'm
coin, which
glad you
they're not
mentioned
gonna
it
do. They
because
should have done it
when
with
I'm
Karma.
playing, sometimes like if someone will drum
Something
solo,
Samira
and they'll
Varus
have, like, a
stuff,
boost cost, like,
something
missing
Oh,
Malawi
I
stuff.
forgot.
right time.
Mo's
I'm like,
Mo's
they-
talking about
they-
Rise.
There's no way they have removal.
That's something
Yeah,
that we
you're
could
saying
have
Then
probably
I
put in the
die,
buffs.
and
Do
I
you think
get
they'll buff
so
Rise?
pissed off where I'm like,
Please no.
like why was that
I don't
the
think
one
so, and
card that you
I
reduced the
don't. I
cost
hope
on?
not.
So
Yeah.
If they buff Pride, they're literally trolling.
Okay, let's move on.
Hmm.
All right, Steve, you want to talk about this? It's kind of in the same philosophy.
Yeah, this is actually the exact
Oh.
same philosophy, Julian. It's
Look
like,
at that, the Varus nerf.
essentially,
Oh
Ambitious
yeah.
Cultist
Oh,
is now
yeah.
going to be a this round 0 cost only,
Heck,
which essentially
fucking
means
hell.
when you play Ambitious Cultist, you'll get a 0 mana new spell.
Yeah, I like Karma
Sorry,
going
if
back
you
to
equip
6.
something, you
Karma.
get a 0 mana new spell. And then if you play
This
that
barely
spell, it'll go to
matters.
0, but at the end of the round, it'll go back to 2. Very similar to the philosophy for the Drum some solo. We just really don't love having players sit around with 0 mana cards to blow each other out, especially when this new spell could be from any
This was not
region,
like
so
this,
you could
was
just
it?
get something
It
ridiculous.
was permanently
to
0,
happen to
now
you.
it's only temporarily 0.
But yeah, keeping all the
Oh
power
wait, I
level
thought it
here,
was permanently
just
too.
making it
I don't
a
know
bit
why
less
I
of a
thought
gotcha
that.
and a
I
bit
thought it was
less
just
of
like
a
a spell,
I
and then
can
you
sit
set
around
it to
and
2.
react and blow
don't know
my
why I
opponent
thought
out
that.
for the rest of the game.
Oh, it was the fan,
Cool.
the ambitious whatever.
This next change is one where when I read about
Thank
this, I was
God.
like,
Wait, what?
Oh wait.
think of it. I was like, man, I wish I
Really?
could, like abuse this.
Wait, this is weird.
You wanna
I
talk about
felt like
it,
that was a
Chris?
synergy point, but
Yeah, for sure.
Wait,
So let me
that
explain.
doesn't
the
make
change
any
first. This is, I
sense.
guess, one of the more nuanced ones.
I mean,
So
it does.
right
It makes the
now,
card
if you
much,
use
much
Opulent
worse.
Foyer
And,
and
like, if you don't play it with
gain
them
an
as
attack
ever
token,
now,
No,
but
but I mean with the
attack
wording of the
scout
card,
unit,
it doesn't
which,
make
like,
sense,
refreshes
no?
your attack token and
Because
rally,
once you
you'll get
rally,
an
you
additional
have the
ghastly
attack.
yeah, but
band.
now it's a round
So we're
start.
changing
only.
it so when you play the Opulent Foyer, you're still always going to get that ghastly band.
Like, read the card
regardless
again.
of
Oh,
if you
okay,
attack
okay,
token or
okay. I
not.
keep not
But
reading.
now,
I just
to
change.
get the
I read the
additional
change,
ghastly
and then
bands, that's
assume
only going
what
to
the
happen
warning
at
is.
round start if you have the attack token.
That
Which
means
means if you rally
Wait,
or
so
Varus
it's
nerf?
basically
There's no
basically
nerf,
what
yeah.
we
attack
said
tokens
plus an
at
extra
round
nerf,
start,
right?
You're no longer going to get
no,
the ghastly band.
instead.
And we're making this change.
You
because,
still get
you
the
know,
thing on the
Oh,
off
you still
tokens.
get. Yeah, I
cards
didn't
come
read.
around,
Only if
people
you have the
Oh,
attack
yeah.
token. Hello,
leaning
Ains.
super hard into that synergy along with all the other degenerate things that you get to
Yeah.
do with Scout and Rally. And we definitely, it's not our favorite change to like have to take away a synergy like that, but we're
Yeah,
pretty
that's
confident
basically
that
what
those
you
decks
said.
could
That's
still even
a
like
synergy
play this
Yeah.
card and still
I feel like
succeed.
they wanted to do
And if
that.
that ends up not being the case and those like Rally Scout decks are really struggling without
I mean,
the
the card is
synergy, I
shit
think
now
we
then,
definitely
no?
come back and look at it. But for now, this just feels like something we definitely
It
want to do just for like
feels-
long-term health.
Like without Katarina or Rally or something, the
People
card
are
is
asking, does this
definitely not
still
good
work
enough
with
to play.
Garen level 2?
Still
So
work with Garen level 2.
it won't.
that's-
Yeah.
Because when you rally at your round start, it no longer. Sorry, I'm reading the text. If you have the attack token, summon the ghastly band. Actually, okay. So how I believe it'll work is if your
Nice,
if your
Ains.
Garen is to the right of your opulent foyer, I
Nice.
think you will
Very palm.
get the token. I would have to double check that though.
Cool. It depends on the order for sure.
Yeah, sorry, that was such
I
a
mean, we
trick
take
question
those,
to just
yeah.
throw in there. I was like, oh my god, we have rules tests. I didn't sign up for this.
Garen to the right. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I've seen people talk about. I think Aurelia and Garen work a specific
With
way,
Aurelia?
and I
Oh yeah,
think
there
this
was
probably
an
work
Aurelia
in a
deck, right?
similar way, and I do not know what that
An
is.
Aurelia deck?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
landmarks
Is that what you
can't
just
be
said?
rearranged.
Oh, it
so
is?
That's what they said.
usually you'll be able to
I mean,
get
it was
your
around the
Garen on
time where,
right,
like, I mean,
believe.
obviously, like before it got rotated, it was like that, and they tried to make.
Yeah,
one
but it
for,
was
Even if you
meme
play the
stuff.
foyer afterwards.
Like it wasn't
Yeah,
really that
it
good.
was-
That's a nice
it
tip,
wasn't,
too, like,
yeah.
You can like attack of the Garen, and then it'll be on the right.
I always, whenever I do these balance like live
it you
streams,
eating
I
or
always
them?
learn something, and then
Me.
I get much better on ladder for a few
Sorry.
days. Oh,
Unbelievable.
this next one's really interesting. In writing about
Just
attachment
eating all the
methods,
snacks, you know.
It's prank adjustments. Can you
Prank?
talk about what's changing?
Prank?
With prank?
Blood.
So I want to talk quickly
Yes!
philosophy around
I mean, it's
pranks.
not
I
even
think
in
for a
there.
long time,
I haven't read it yet.
pranks,
Okay, don't ruin my
weren't
day.
working
It said
in
changes. Why
at
are
the
you
way
celebrating?
not necessarily not working the way they wanted to, but a
Well,
lot of
okay.
the power of
I
pranks
just-
was skewed
I
in the
just saw
+2
prank
cost.
and I got excited. Okay,
And we
That was
often
it.
found
Just-
really frustrating situations
a
when you get a
second.
I think it
landmark
is
or a
nerf.
unit +2 cost that felt really, really bad, right? It felt like, oh, you're taking away somebody's play on curve, where at least for spells, you can
Units,
bank
landmarks,
mana, right?
equipment.
And that got us thinking, well, how can we improve pranks? Because a lot of the times when you're playing pranks, your goal is to just prank tons of spells, right? And we're like, well, what if we made the unit buffs, the unit debuffs a bit better? So that kind of led us to thinking, well, the -2 attack debuff on prank
Yeah,
is
without
actually
Shelf
something
Book,
that
nobody cares
is
about
rarely
prank,
selected,
that's
rarely
true.
used. Let's remove that from the pool.
Do people
So
still
you'll
play
no longer
the
be able to hit
auto
that
pussy?
anymore. We're adjusting the
I think some
cost on units,
Seraphim
landmarks,
still
and
play it.
equipment. So anything that's not a spell won't be able to get +2 cost. It'll
I'm gonna have to
only be
watch
able to
the
get
sheets
+1
again.
cost. And then we buffed the vulnerable debuff to be -2, -0, and vulnerable. So instead of that -2 attack,
Did you hear
you
me?
get both that and vulnerable.
What?
And then the last
I'm
prank,
gonna
of
have to
course,
watch
for
the
units
sheets
is the
again.
one that makes units
What
can't
is
block.
what happened?
And this just played really well in our
Diva
testing.
took
I
all
don't know
the
if we
sheets away
expect
from
this
the
to be
hangers and was
something that is
rolling
meta
them
right
on the
away,
floor.
but this is the kind of change
Nice.
that Standard actually helped us make. Now that Curious Shellfolk is rotated, that gives us some space
Nice.
to
Do you regret having
make
a cat
new
yet?
prank cards or even buff
No,
pranks without
it's gonna be fine.
No?
doing anything too
Tell me when you're
gross.
ready.
It's great.
Usually, Shellfolk is kind of the card that prevents us from doing something like this. So when you're playing with
We're
We're gonna
pranks
still
now,
give her back.
you're just gonna have a lot more.
Hello?
You're gonna have a lot more interesting
Never, not
our
options,
child.
especially when you hit units,
She's with
because
us-
it's not
she-
always
you're
gonna
stuck
be
with her forever,
feast or
okay?
famine. I hit +2 cost or not. You're gonna have a bit better were unit debuffs.
She's
Like
rightfully
vulnerable,
hers.
actually plays kind of well.
Everything in this house
because
is
the
hers,
-2/-1
True.
vulnerable
That's how
or
it is when
can't
you
block
have cats.
pranks now are something that more
We're in
aggressive
her
Vandal
house.
City decks can use. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at here. We're calling this more of an adjustment because obviously now you can't prank landmarks.
That's last
up to
minute 12 years.
cost.
Easy
That was really a
clap.
functionality we don't want for
You-
pranks.
11 and a half
So we're
more
really happy
bridge.
to roll out this change. Whether or not it has meta impact,
Good
I
luck,
think from the design side,
Sam.
we're really happy about it.
Cool. And with that, we get into buffs.
Minus
Buffs.
You wanna-
Target
Target
buffs. Pause
buffs.
chat.
Buffs coming to
Okay.
target.
What the
Yeah,
fuck
for
is
sure.
this?
Coming into standard, we know that Targon is definitely a
Minus
region
one
that
cost.
maybe got like hit pretty hard.
Wait,
and we're
the
gonna be looking
Moonstalker
for
was
ways
6
to
mana?
shore
I
that
don't
off
remember
on
that
both
shit being 6
archetype
mana.
and just like wider region level.
I mean-
so the first place that we're looking
This shit was
is
6
Nightfall.
mana?
Nightfall
Shut
lost
Who the
a
fuck was?
lot of
Well, no
units.
one was
Nobody
paying 6
was
mana for
playing.
it because no one was
Adding tools
playing
to some of
it.
the region adjustments that happen in Shadow Isles. You no longer have.
I was like,
The
bro, they
Geon
didn't put the
Looker
cost on
used
the
on the
card.
cost
Wait,
to
that
trigger
shit
those
was
cards.
6 mana.
So we're looking to put some more
Nice.
specifically like game-ending potential into some of these
A
target
new
options.
moon is
So
rising,
to do
bro.
that, we
Nothing
took
is
Phoenix
rising
Moonstalker,
here.
Some things
one
are
cost
rising.
off,
Hello.
it used
People
to
climb
give
down,
Elusive
bro. What
himself
is-
and another ally for the round. Now it just Cygnus himself has base elusive, but he still gives elusive for one round.
Cygnus
He's
is so
losing to
bad
that.
now? What do you
It's kind of
mean?
an
He was
adjustment
terrible before.
overall, but
Hello.
mostly just trying to bring him down in the curve, make him a better threat on his own. Similar thing with Cloven Way. One cost off the top, losing some
The
stats
Cloven
in
Way is
exchange,
like not
and
too bad.
just
I
hopefully
think.
I
this
like the
combination
Cloven Way
of
change.
elusive
I think
and
that one is good.
overwhelm, like
It's a-
where
it's-
we
I think
are
it's
it's
still
kinda like
unplayable,
the-
but
on the curve will give
I think it's
Nightfall
like
decks
the
a better way to
sun,
close out
the
games that they're really
fucking
lacking right now.
sun ball.
Cool.
Muda.
The sun ball.
Let's
Muda.
The sun
buff.
with us. What is this?
Sure.
What
So this
is
this
this?
buff I like a lot because this actually came from an idea that I had and an idea that Steve had independently.
Wait, so this
and we
didn't
just,
have
like,
Nightfall before?
mashed them together into
No.
one buff, and as you can see,
Wait, it's a
we're
4
just
mana
slapping
3/6?
Nightfall onto Moondreamer.
The
and
original
Nightfall
one is
reward
4 mana
for a
3/6?
Moondreamer is going to be
No,
reducing the cost of the card. that you
With
invoke
Nightfall,
by
it's
one.
4 mana
So
3/6.
this is less a
Oh, no, sorry, it's
Nightfall-
the
No, the
invoked
invoked
cards.
one.
No, no,
because
sorry,
maybe
sorry,
gives
sorry.
Yeah.
Nightfall decks the option to instead of like trying to close the game out, maybe they want to go a little bit longer and go more value. But we're
Okay,
hopeful
I like
this
that.
will just be like a Targon buff in general because Targon like really wants
I
to
have
be
to
doing
lock-
this
let me
like
lock
big
her out of the
celestial
room.
invoke.
Mm,
Like,
just
value
lock her in
thing,
the
and
basement or
Moondreamer
something.
Having this additional
lock her out,
effect
I
should give
can.
them a better chance of doing that.
No more.
This is
No more.
very
I
popular with
fixed that
people.
up.
People are liking this quite a bit. We have other various questions too. People want to know about coins, but we can talk about
She's
it.
gonna
at
start
the end.
meowing.
Let's keep the buff train going.
Yep. And then last up.
Oh
just a general
my
Targon.
god, what is
Targon,
this?
Targonian Telstones, I think,
What is this,
one of the
bro?
ultimate Telstone litters.
What
Very
is
normal.
Excuse me?
So we kind of.
Okay.
Oh god. Oh, this is gonna get nerfed.
Targon
Oh,
saved.
then
Targon
what is
saved.
this?
Okay, Targon
lower
saved.
played cards to make like a cute little
Oh,
package.
Yeah, I like that.
Targon
fuck me,
Telstones,
dude.
a little more
Hello?
excited about
Oh
this
my
one is Targon
god.
Strength.
What the
So
fuck?
We're
is
entering a
this?
Hush meta. There you go, nice Varus.
Varus.
Okay, with Hush being meta, with
It's a
Varus
Hush
needing no
meta.
nerfs.
An Invoker,
G
Silence,
fucking G,
and
bro.
a big Grant buff, which are just like kind of the three.
Enjoy putting
This
all your
is-
shit in one
Targon,
unit with Hush in the
and
meta.
this, if you know,
Yeah.
if you're
Jesus
willing to pay that
Christ.
mana tax for the versatility.
This
Targonian
Telstone is
Telstones
really
give
good
you a
now.
little bit of all
Yeah.
three.
Yeah, I like this
There's
one
value,
a lot,
there's a
especially
pump,
because I
there's a
think
Hush.
one thing that we've
It's insane.
seen is that
Jesus,
Hush,
man.
which
Holy
originally
fuck.
was just a huge way for kind of the best,
Which-
the only
which-
burst way that
Which
Targon can
Telstone?
interact with anything.
Does this put it up there in
but with
the
equipments,
top
and over
Telstones?
time, we've just seen it kind of languish a bit at certain
Maybe?
cards
How
in the
broken do you
main
think
deck.
this is?
Yeah, it's
so that's
broken
kind of what
now.
Telstones
It's
are
definitely
for.
like
Hey,
upgrade.
we got Hush in the
Yeah.
Telstones, so if you want flexibility, you can kind of still have that without paying
All
too much of a
bursts,
cost.
true.
Cool.
Yeah, this is
Alright,
nuts.
that concludes our Targon buffs. Let's
There's
go
no
to
way
the
if you're playing a
Ascended.
Targon deck, you don't play at least one of those.
Alright, you want to
There's
speak to that?
absolutely no-
Ascended.
Sure. So we are reducing Azir's quest by 1. Pretty small here, but in
Okay.
the new standard environment, we want to make sure that you can
Bird
play
goes
Azir
tweet,
in
dog-
more
dog goes
strategies, whether
whoop.
they're token
What the
You no
strategies
longer
or
play
more
a 6-mana
traditional,
2/2.
Sun Disc stuff. We want to make sure that in those
On
decks,
levels,
Azir
right?
can level up.
I mean, if you ever play
more
a 6
on
mana to do,
time.
you should uninstall.
And then for Nasus,
I
we're just
mean,
giving
you were
Nasus
playing, what
plus
is
one
it, a
plus one
7-mana
on both levels.
1/6.
Feels like Nasus
So-
for a long time has not really been that easy to crank up his slay count. Now with just
Yeah,
less
but this one you have to get
options,
a slay.
in-
What have you
in
been doing
standard,
for
I
6
think
turns
that,
if you didn't have a slay so far?
Yeah, what have
you
you
know,
been
you
doing
can
for
use the plus
7?
one,
You
just
haven't
help him level up
discarded
more often.
shit.
And also to sort of potentially.
And this got 35 power.
decks,
excuse me.
Just making sure that that deck doesn't completely
Nasusi
become
is coming.
unviable with things like Seraph moving out.
And they can
so, yeah,
they can
we just
nerf
wanted to
fucking
give
Nasus
some
because
small
they can buff
buffs here,
Nasus
since we
because
feel like
Kosh
these
is coming
cards are
back, so
now
Nasus is still
just
gonna be
not necessarily up to snuff with the power level of other champions and standard.
They're like, yay,
so
Nasus
giving some
buff.
small buffs here should help.
Aware. Hush and
Aware.
Delstone.
That dog in him.
Oh, man.
Absolute woofer.
What the fuck is this card?
Glory's Call.
Yeah, so Glory's Call
this is
similarly.
the-
We tried a lot of different permutations here of like less cost or more reduction for Ascended, and like
This
some
card is
stuff
still
resulted
neat, right?
in stuff that was really
That's
strong
what
in like
Eternal
Eternal, which we don't really want to
I
affect
just-
Eternal too much with our standard patch.
Okay.
So we ended up with a pretty modest, just -1 cost here. Maybe this lets you play some Ascended. And honestly, I had not really
This
played
isn't
this
a new
card, and
card, is
playtesting
it?
this card, I realized how strong it
it's
is.
fairly
The
new.
Emperor's
card.
deck is just quite
This is
strong.
-1 cost. This exists.
So I had a fun
It's-
time with it in
it's a meme
testing.
because nobody's seen the
So
card.
yeah, we really wanted to get a change
It's
here
a meme
just so
because
that
what?
you could
Because
play.
nobody has
Nobody
seen the
sees
card.
car.
because
Oh,
it's
okay. I was like, wait, what?
It's the
People are
same
saying,
thing.
"Oh,
Have
no,
you
Jason,
never
your
heard
card is
Callista
not
new card?
sexy."
Hello?
Listen,
Communities.
Fake
I
Callisto
choose
fan.
to not. I
Yeah,
choose to
you
not
called it.
see those comments.
Okay,
maybe that's
let's
fine.
talk
Oh.
Battle Isles. What's going on here, Frank?
Buff, please.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
rotation.
That is not.
Kind of saw
Okay.
a big redefining of its removal tools.
Easy.
You know,
That card is so
Easy.
fucking good. There's no way you don't free up this card
Soul
now.
Harvest was a card that
Yeah.
we were kind of looking to step
Easy
in
fucking
and
claw.
fill those shoes. It's just like a Shadow Isles region
Okay.
removal tool.
Ash
and it hasn't
SI?
really been
Wait,
hitting
no,
the
Ash got
as well as we wanted. So what we're doing?
Lol.
Small buff that we're hoping.
Diego buff
Diego.
parade.
Diego,
Cost
please.
targeted
Diego 5
champions
mana, and I will
free.
forgive everything
And I
else.
think it just
Diego
makes
5
a lot
mana.
of sense, especially
Although,
in the
to
world
be
where
fair,
the
the
champions
patch
you're
has been
trying to
pretty good.
potentially target are
Diego
like
5 mana.
Fizz
Give it
because
to
you're
me.
insane, or
The,
like
the guy,
Samira,
the
or,
Jules
like,
guy
afraid of,
likes
like,
Diego,
Fallout or
so
something.
it's
just
fine.
like
Surely
when
he
the
vouched
potential
for
to
us,
get like
okay?
blown out and have your
He's a
that
Diego
fun?
player.
is so
Okay.
high.
Minus 1
it's
for
just, like,
followers,
you
no
should have to
Ains?
pay
What
more
do you
for
mean?
that. So we're hoping with that down to 3, it'll just
Ains
give
is
us more
trolling.
opportunity
It's
to put
wrong
these
in the
cards into
text.
more decks and like feel
No, it was 2 mana,
good about
2 mana and 4 mana. Now
shooting
it's
our
2 mana and
Yeah.
3 mana.
Cool.
Yeah, it should
Yeah,
be
that's-
too.
that's-
Alright, cool. Let's get into some
It was
of
2 and
the
4.
variety buffs that we've been
That's
picking
it?
up.
Variety buffs.
LOL. Nice Viego.
I don't know if there's anything to talk about.
No,
The
it says
Academy
Dragon's
is getting
Gold.
plus
They wouldn't
4,
put it-
plus 4
No.
now.
No, they would have
So
put it in
anybody,
fucking SI.
Anybody
Unless they're gonna
looking
do
to play
champions
some
in the
big
end, but-
dragon decks will have a huge boost. I mean, generally you find that
But it's a
cards
9,
in this
doesn't
mana
matter.
slot need to do something
We're playing a 9
absolutely
mana, 9
crazy
6.
to really
like,
be viable.
if we haven't
So we're
won
not
and
necessarily
summoned
shooting
all
for
the dragons
viability.
by then,
We're
I
just
don't know
shooting
what
for
we're
doing
doing, I
something
guess,
pretty
but-
pretty sweet.
But
And
sure. I mean,
and
I
yeah,
guess.
that's
Sure.
all I got.
Maybe if
for
you
it.
made it 10-10, maybe we'll play it.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing where like we could use to make hydrogen cheaper
Matsu.
and have a
Right.
smaller buff, but that kind of
Please nerf Rise.
Cool dragons.
Well,
That's so we're really just saying
Oh,
like
God.
if you could pay 9 mana and slap this bad boy into play, you're gonna get a massive
Thank you, Chad.
reward.
It's actually a good point, Frank, because I think like oftentimes the easiest way to buff something is by mana cost, right? Because
You
that's
know,
going
it'd
to
be
make
nice
it more
if
viable.
some of these
but
buffs
I
shot for
think generally
viability for
baseline
once.
cards in
Lol.
lore are so strong
Nice.
that like most cards that get a mana cost buff will like almost immediately potentially be meta, and we try to use that not necessarily as a last
We tried to
resort,
make
but
them not playable.
It's not the
That's
first
what
thing
we're
we try to do.
do.
when
We're trying to
card.
buff it just enough so it's still
Alright, let's
unplayable.
look at the other buff cooking.
I mean, to be fair, you could play these in a tournament. so.
Yeah, this is a buff that I like a lot. So basically, it's saying now when you pull a champion with Priestess of Desert Light, it's going to grant that champion +2/+2. It'll do that whether you're just playing Priestess without 6 unique champions or with
If your deck
6
started
unique
with 6
champions.
summon,
And basically, the goal here
summon
is
instead.
Priestess
Wait,
is a card
this
that
card
I mean-
exists? Wait, there's no way. I'm
Yeah, this-
wait.
this card is
6 plus
actually-
different champions?
getting
Wait.
Priestess down,
Pause.
getting her
Nice, good
survive,
job.
and
But look away.
there's
Look
also, like, a
away,
lot of
child.
variance in
I got
that,
this.
especially when
I
you
got this, guys.
put 6
Remember?
champions in your
From
deck, you're
4
normally gonna have to
champions,
put in some
we must
champions that are, like,
ascend. And we're in
2/2 or
Shurima. We're
3/3.
ascending.
And now,
We're
with
evolving.
Priestess, when you pull one of those lower
6
Wait, there was no
champions.
stream about
It's
this, right?
over.
this buff will make
Stream is still
you
gonna be
feel a
Dash.
little bit better
There was
about
no
that,
stream about
even
stream
if
is
you,
Dash.
high roll and pull your Aurelion Soul.
It's
or
fine.
something.
I can fix
So
it.
just looking
okay.
to more consistently reward you when you pull off the
Yeah, unless we
Priestess
count the Zir and Nasus, I guess. But
Alright. Want to talk about this one, Steve?
Yeah,
What?
this is kind of more of a quality of life change than really a targeted buff, I would say. Essentially, Mirror
What?
Image
What the
has the condition
fuck
that you
is
have
this?
to target a 5+.
Wait, this is insane.
Or
This is
buffing
literally
LeBlanc. I'm
You're
so
just
confused.
Allowing that to target any ally.
How? I'm
And
so
the reasoning
fucking
is really
confused.
when
What
you
is
see
this?
LeBlanc in these Ash decks, you're really trying to target the rally or
This is nuts.
Assessor or something
This
like
is
that.
nuts.
I
mean,
No, in
I'm
Ash
down
Mirrors,
for
you
it.
can't freeze.
And we think that this is just going to open deck voting for LeBlanc because you'll be able to just pull off some crazy combos now, which is something we haven't really seen with her. So we think that this is just an exciting
I mean, it's
change
fun. It
that
sounds
won't have that
fun,
big of an
but
impact
like,
on
Jesus.
the current meta decks.
Because
That's
before
what
you used to also be able to stop it, right? Like with a freeze
Yeah.
or something
a lot of,
as well.
Some people in chat.
And
are
it used to be
worried.
targeting 5+
Ash LeBlanc
attack
is so
only.
strong.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah,
are
only
you
5+
buffing
hands.
LeBlanc like this? So with the adjustment to Ash and like, do you want to speak to that a little?
Yeah,
bit?
I will. I mean, I think one of our goals on LoR is just for champions' gameplay dreams to be realizable, right? And one thing that LeBlanc really does is
building
create like
all the
multiple mirror
LeBlanc decks
images,
as well.
right? And the fact that it was sort of hamstrung to like a more reputation style deck really hurt her ability to do some crazy combos. So ultimately, regardless of the deck, like honestly, regardless of the decks in standard, we think that the champion's gameplay dream being realizable is more important, which is why we do something like this. But it does technically, buff essentially the existing deck, because you could do something like mirror image a Trifarian Assessor that has 4 attack now that you couldn't do before. Overall, though, with the nerfs to Reckoning and Ash, we really think that this is, it's not a good trade deal for that deck.
I don't understand.
Let's put it that way.
I really want to
Do you think
understand,
that it
but
would
I don't.
open like opportunity? for
One more helpful
LeBlanc?
LeBlanc, that would make her the strongest champion in the game. Are you
That's the
insane?
hope. But
5
it's good that
free
you said
quick attack
opportunity too, because we don't necessarily
For
think
three
that
for free
this will
mana.
make
Excuse
a
me.
new meta deck.
With this,
But, like,
with this
somebody
now,
might
you
experiment
imagine?
with it, right? Like I don't even really
Yeah.
know. Like what can you do with this now? Like you can target Revna. That's pretty sick.
I think it is really
Exactly,
cool, like the amount of
if that's
things
a
you can
deck,
do now
but
with
I'm
her.
excited to try it out.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot you were
Cool.
like
Cool.
constrained, constrained a
talk
lot
about this
by
one, Frank?
reputation
Yeah,
to
definitely.
use her.
So this is actually a small redesign
ult,
we did.
so.
So for people not familiar with the Gunners, it used to just be an expensive unit that when you summoned it, if you went through the hoop of, I believe, 4
For each multi-region you played this
allies
game,
this
I'm
game,
sending
you got
me
the
impact 3
reward
times.
of the 3 impact. So while a very powerful effect, it just didn't really fit with the multi-region kind of like go wide, spin, low to the ground thing that the deck really
So you're gonna
excels
just
at.
play this for
So
0?
we've redesigned it to keep the spell shield, keep the impact stacks, but now the cost
with like
just scales
is
down
the
one
owls
for
and
each
Tristana
multi-region
and all this
ally
Yeah,
you
yeah.
summon. Basically, think it's like the
Okay.
Their mana 5 has spell
multi-region
shield impact
Wiggly
it's kind of
Burble
broken,
fish.
yeah?
And this is a change we've
I
like
mean,
had kind of in the
How
back
fast
pocket
can
for a
you get
while.
them? I mean, what, by
we
like turn?
Didn't do it
6
when
or something?
Tristana
turn
and like
5, 6
Atrocity were kind
easily.
of popping off,
Yeah,
but now
okay.
post rotation in the standard environment,
That
Tristana's kind
is
of like
pretty nuts then,
struggling
yeah.
again
With
a little
impact
bit. And we feel like Vandal
3.
Gunners could
That's
come
fair
in
enough.
and
Yeah.
hopefully give that deck a new angle to shine.
Overcooked,
A
Riot.
lot
This
of
is
people-
overcooked.
I like this
Mo
new
in the chat.
community nickname. They named it the Vandalfish, which I think
You know that
I think
cake
that's
is
gonna
screaming
stay.
right now.
Booming.
I wish I was
He's
smart enough to
caking.
have put that on the slide.
It's okay. Someone asked when the patch goes live. The patch will be live on Wednesday around 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Okay.
But
So
it's
basically, they
on
do
to
these
the next
on Monday. Release the official patch notes tomorrow
so
when they usually do, and then
Intel has
Wednesday.
been a card that has been historically
I like that
kind
one.
of, unfortunately, a throwaway card.
It
What we're doing to
draws?
is
Wait.
We're letting it draw a card, but making
Wait
it
a
cost
minute.
1 more. Essentially, we think that flash bombs are
Wait.
kind of now with flash bomb peddler. We actually see like people playing flash bomb control a bit more, but still, there's some of the cards in
This
the
is
flash
kinda
bomb package are almost like
That's a pretty good card.
advanced intel,
Okay.
especially
Rise
kind of
buff?
an unusable card that I don't think anybody has
No.
Jesus Christ.
seriously main decked
Imagine playing this in
without
Rise.
any
Oh,
sort of
actually,
like
uninstall.
maybe card generation they've created it. So we just want to give flash bombs one
Okay.
more way of just sort of get those flash bombs rolling, as well as we are.
I
Yeah,
like
I
this
always felt
change.
like some of the
So
flash
giving
bomb
Easy
package
a little bit of
for
drawback
Kate was kind of
potentially
awkward.
in those flash bomb trap decks.
Like so a lot of the cards, like plant
someone in
flash
chat
bombs. I'm like,
asked,
when the
and
fuck would I ever play
I
this
also
card?
asked you this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is you draw yourself, right? The opponent doesn't draw. You're
Yep,
not
just
fishing
you.
For their... Okay, cool. Cool. And next, the Deathless Knight.
Deathless Knight.
Oh?
Yeah, I mean, this is just
Okay.
a super cool card. Has a lot of like exciting synergy
Okay.
moments to it. We're just
Is
bringing
the
the
seed
cost
core
down by
thing?
1.
The
Hopefully
seed
get
core
more
still in
Seed core?
interested in trying
still
to
in
What?
standard?
pop off with the Deathless
The
Knight.
landmark?
Seed core opportunity to do so. Not
Wait,
too
what?
much.
The landmark of
What's-
copies?
Cool.
Oh,
And then our last
the
top
fucking
of
Black
day,
Flame.
Steve.
I would
Yeah.
assume.
Yeah, the
Why the fuck would
retired
they take it out
reckoner
so soon? I'm assuming.
potentially picking
Yes,
his gloves
yeah.
back up. just getting additional
Retired
attack here.
Reckoner.
They rotated the wrong
change,
Chaos
we actually
mode.
looked at a bunch of changes to
This isn't retired.
actually the release that I worked on
rotated?
way back, the
No.
champion expansion of
The
Akshan
cool
and
one
Viego
is.
with some
He's
of the
not
like
retired after all.
Noxus
Okay.
self-targeting Reckoners.
Lol.
We just landed on thinking that Retired Reckoner specifically felt like just a little bit too understated to see play, but we think it's a fun card to build around. So
A little
giving that one attack
little
to see
bit,
if
little
we can
bit.
get him out of
Surely it's a
retirement.
little
And
bit.
if not, maybe it's just more of a viable option that players can play in the
Wait,
future.
they're saying it is, so it's still legal, is what they're saying.
I've seen a few comments of people are like,
Yeah.
oh, these are cards that I don't really see a
Hated
lot.
at home.
So
Well, that's kind of the cards we target
Mm-hmm.
with the sort of like variety stat buffs usually, because they're cards that just are underplayed.
Mhm.
Yeah, because you know, pretty much every like all the.
Well,
lore
the
cards
change,
are
you
all
literally
love
see
and
+1
put into
attack in
them.
the
They'll have some,
100.
like cool animations or art or voice lines, and like if they're just sitting there and no one's using them, those are definitely cards. We want to see
Please.
if we can just get like.
I mean, they
people
would have put
excited
it
to
in,
just, like,
Shadow
try
Isles.
again,
Why?
even if
Why
they're
would they make a
not
whole
sticking
thing
with
for
it.
Shadow Isles and
I
only
think
show
it's
that
interesting
one?
too, because,
Like, I'm
when
so
something's out in
confused.
the wild, like,
What was
I
the
know
purpose
when,
of that? To
Inferno
like get
was
people
released,
excited
we were,
about
Yes.
like a
sleeping on
change?
Inferno.
Debated,
Like,
you
it
know?
was-
So I'm
No,
always,
like literally,
you know,
like Shadow
It's
Isles,
not variety,
and then it
it's
was
like, oh,
one
this is
card.
really gonna affect the meta, and then sometimes something
Yeah.
that
Like
I
you
didn't
could have just put
personally
it in
expect
in
will just
variety changes.
Might have been
No.
sleeping on it for a day.
Yes.
that's
Genius.
true.
Like,
No.
I thought we
If
were
even
gonna get a
that.
whole
Napping on
package.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I was-
there was,
I was-
there were two questions.
I was
Let me go back
cucked.
to the main page.
Well, that's
that I
it?
saw in chat that I want to
There's
ask
no
you
way.
guys.
That's
Also,
it?
chat. That is it for our changes. We are going to be putting out an infographic in all languages later today. That
The
just shows
coin?
Scammed.
Coin?
and then
Question
patch notes will
mark?
come out tomorrow.
Coin?
But please enter into chat questions. Yeah, I'm gonna ask the coin question.
Any
I'm gonna ask
coin
about the
changes?
Classic Rift. So, all right.
Viego, put
Yeah.
Viego in chat.
All right, so a
Put
lot of
Viego in
people,
chat.
Myself included, have gone against.
Wait,
Karma
I'm doing
set
it.
And just like Karma coming down, turn 10.
Yeah.
Having doubling coin, infinite draw, like.
There it is. I
what
put
are-
it.
what
I
is,
put it
like,
for all of us.
Your guys' stance
Well, I'm trying
on, I
to
guess,
hear what you're
coin
saying.
and Karma doubling coin. Is that kind of like part of her fantasy? Is that why you guys adjusted HP rather than
Yeah.
coin interaction? If you can just like, Steve, do you want to?
How does her HP matter in this
I think
situation you're
that-
describing?
Yeah,
Like, bro,
In terms of the coin deck itself, the Karma set, we honestly consider it a fairly healthy deck. Like it.
Excuse
usually has
me?
a pretty good win rate.
What?
It's got a decent play rate. Obviously,
What?
there is a lot of players that
Healthy
enjoy
what?
sort of combo play
Question
style.
mark?
I think that usually what's important to us is like the severity of
No.
combo. We really think
No.
about like what turn it can happen, right?
Ruben, no.
Karma set is a deck that
I
really
trusted
doesn't
you.
start popping off until round 10, and you can really attack
Ruben,
them
I
before that
trusted
round.
you.
Why does
And
the
I think that
attack
generally
matter,
Karma
bro?
is a kind
That's
of a
literally
card
just a
that
balance
has
thing.
historically been this sort of like frustration point for players where it's like, oh, once they get to round 10, they have Karma active. The one thing that I will say though is that
Nick is in
a lot
chat,
of the
bro, what is
Karma has never
happening?
really before
No,
been
like,
as
actually.
potent as it is now. Because I think specifically just Karma plus place your bets
No.
kind of is just GG, like on its own. Assuming like
Yeah.
you have sets in your deck as well.
GG.
To like come out and play the
Nice.
set. Which I think is
Assuming you
something
have
that might
sex
be
in
a
your
little
Sex in your
sex in the neck.
it's kind of like a two-card
Nice.
combo. Usually combos we
Just
think
have
about,
sex
like,
in the neck, guys.
lore,
Easy
especially
collab.
putting a
And you
bunch
win
of
with
cards
Karma.
together,
Mhm.
right? When
It
it's
opens
happening
out
on round
first.
10, we're usually pretty allow
It's
players to be
it's
pretty
right there.
flexible with it because
Yeah, it's
we
at
have
the YouTube
9 or
says
10 rounds in the game,
Twitch,
that end
whatever.
the game before that point. Obviously, the deck is pretty good defensively, right? We have changed things like Caustic Rift to hopefully make it a little bit less good defensively. But yeah, in general, like
Bro,
Karma is
I-
the kind of card that is honestly doing a lot of strong things, but it really only does that on round 10, which is almost past the point where the average lore game usually
I feel like the
ends,
patch
which
is
why
like
we generally think it's
flaccid.
it's pretty healthy. In terms
didn't
of the
do
Karma
anything.
coin interaction, it is
Is
something
it
that is
though?
incredibly strong.
I don't know. I didn't
Just
feel
creating a
excited
ton
about
of
the
mana and
patch.
taking
The only thing I felt
actions
strongly about was
is-
the Ash
is-
thing.
Is really just kind of
I felt strongly
frustrating to
about the
play against,
Ash.
'cause it's like,
I think the LeBlanc
oh,
is
my opponent
fun.
just gets to do 10 things and I get to do none. And I
The-
think that if we did change something, we would
The-
look at
the nerf, the
specifically
Samira
making something
changes
about
and
that.
the-
Like the nerfs are like
explosive.
fine, but
'Cause
like
think
I didn't
personally,
really
like,
need
I've played
those
against
cards
tons of
nerfed. I
Karmas in
didn't
the
really care
past
that much.
where, you know, in the past, players have tried to like go hard with
No.
Karma.
Like I'm
which
happy
almost
they're
doesn't even
nerfed, but
really
it's not
work
like
because you just
wow,
know
the
as
math
if
is
you're
going
The-
to
the-
significantly
the
change because
Targons?
Rise is going away or some shit.
You can kill the
Yeah,
Karma
Targon Balls
usually,
might-
but
yeah.
think specifically
I'm hoping the
Karma
Targon
is
Balls
like, no,
really
Yeah,
just
yeah.
Karma
interesting. I
plus
mean,
place your
it's
bets.
busted.
No, that's
So
true,
I
that's
think,
true,
yeah,
that's true.
What
I forgot
I'd
about
say
it.
is that I don't think that place your bets plus Karma
And
They made
just
Ash-
Ash
necessarily-
again.
or sorry,
They made
Pretty
Ash
sure
plus
Bats
1
Karma
to
2
level up,
is
and then they
necessarily
nerfed Reckoning to
most
7.
healthy pattern, but because it happens at such a late stage in the game, we didn't feel the need to make any changes.
Like, they actually
Plus,
nerfed
the fact that
Ash than
they're
literally any other
something
deck. Like,
that
they're
was
actually
really,
trolling.
You know, cracking the radar
Yeah.
of something that needed changes. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, Frank. I'm sure.
At this point, I think it's safe to assume that they're nerfing around an average player,
I
not a
just
top
add in
player.
that, so when
There's
we
no
were
way you
working
can
on
assume anything
coins
else.
in development, I was on the game analysis team at the time.
With that
and
decision,
was
it has to
really-
be. Because
focus
in an
of
average
our
player's
team was,
hands,
like,
sure,
someone
Ash is
who's
better
playing against
than like
frustration,
face
and
Samir, right?
We kind of knew, like, working with the designers.
Yeah,
on
but I
set
don't think
that,
that's a
like,
fair
hey,
conclusion.
mana
Like, I don't think we have
cheating
enough
mechanic is
information
definitely, like,
to
you're putting some
gather that.
spice in the
I
pot
think
with
like
that one, and we
maybe
were,
they're just
you
out
know,
of
we
touch
tried
and they
various
just look at the
things, like,
meta
in dev,
and
we
like
had
what people
to
have brought, like
focus at one
Runeterra
point,
and
it
like
just,
shit like
wasn't-
that, and they just like
wasn't feeling great.
I don't
and we
think
were, like,
maybe this is just
combo
me not
players
giving them the
don't
benefit of the
get
doubt, but I
catered
don't think they have enough
super,
insight to be
often
like,
in Legends of Runeterra, like more of like the big karma.
I feel like
combos,
Ruben,
and so
because
we really
he's
wanted
partly in
this
charge of that,
mechanic to
as far as I
Ruben
know.
just said that karma set is
so
healthy.
we're definitely happy. that
I
it is
cannot
I
doing
mean,
give this
that.
man
he said on
any
which
benefit of
principles
that.
it's healthy, which
Insane.
I mean, I
But there is
disagree
also
that
that
makes it
balance of,
healthy,
like,
but
you know, obviously the combo
what he
balance
said
is
is true,
fun,
and
but
like
maybe
it's
really
slow enough that you can
is the
attack it, you can
balance
smart
that
it down,
could
but
be so
sure.
super frustrating to play
Like, it's
against.
an
I know.
argument.
Some of these nerfs that
I mean,
I
it
don't
is.
agree
It
with
is
it,
an
but
create some of
argument,
that frustration. But if that continues to not be the case, it is definitely something that we would look at again. So
I don't know.
we are like happy and
Yeah.
excited with the ways that players are using coins, but we're gonna keep a strict eye on making sure that it's not like going over the top.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
and one of the
already
other
kinda-
things that actually what Frank mentioned that I wanted to like add is that sometimes for things like coin, it's actually not that simple because there are so many cards that make coins, right? That if we did something like make the coin copies only make 1 mana, like right now the only decks that coins are played in, I believe, are like Jack Seraphine.
Well,
that copies
technically-
the coin with
or no,
Seraphine,
never mind.
and Karma Set usually. That copies the coin with Karma. You know, we could potentially just delete like 20 cards on accident if we went too far,
Nice.
which is why we just prefer to do
Yeah, like,
changes
Karma
that we
target
did
is
and
gonna be
just see how
super
the
strong
meta's
now,
gonna play
no?
out.
Cool. Yeah. I think that's one of the things too.
And
like
just play
it's really interesting.
you mean the
being
karma
a
set, but
community
target
manager,
version,
like playing
right?
the game
Yeah.
a lot, like watching everybody's streams and hearing everybody's takes.
Like the
but
PNC
also
got
having,
cards
like,
got nerfed, the
invoke,
target cards got
you
buffed.
can double
So.
the
That's one of
invoke,
the biggest
double the-
takeaways is that like y'all are literally always keeping
You have
an
the
eye
hushes.
on what is happening and whether adjustments
That
need
would
to
be
be
pretty
made.
good.
But
And
it's
you have
also
like
like
good
I think one
stall
of the things
in
for us
there,
to consider
yeah.
too
Yeah.
is like maybe our
That's
like
kinda
the
scary.
deck that like our shape that we really love isn't the strongest right now, but I feel like everything kind of like gets its day in the sun.
Where's
so to
Draven,
speak.
boss?
Not to
Hello?
make a Daybreak reference, but
They said they were gonna do.
okay. The other question I had, this
Eternals
is
not
kind of
now.
a deep cut, and I only saw like
Well,
one
Yeah, but
person
fine.
mention this, but
Can they
When?
tell us when?
So-
Never.
the
No.
Caustic Rift change
Draven
happened.
boss
but
when?
I think one of like the
boy?
scariest things that happens is when BB comes online with Caustic Rift. Is that like a type of play style that is like, do you want to kind of reward that combo of like, okay, you let BB stick, you got all these spells out, and like this is your reward, you get like a full board clear? Or is that something that is such an edge case that it
Oh, that was
doesn't
another
really,
thing that we
like,
were talking about, like if
come
they
up
do
too
something
often?
to BB, but I think we talked about
I
that.
would. So basically,
Yeah.
if you were,
Maybe it wasn't that big of an
from my
issue, I don't-
perspective,
I
if
don't
you're
I feel like the combo
combining
decks
two
got
regions
away
like
with
that
it.
and going for a very specific card combo, and you like put in all the work, like I think rewarding that in that way makes sense to me, especially because with BB you do have that keg sitting
Like
there,
Karma,
which
Seraphine, all
gives
that
the
kind of shit is
opportunity to be
fucking
like,
farming.
okay, if I can
They don't care.
break this keg
Wait, which
or
one?
like time my spells
Like all the
correctly,
combo bullshit,
Rift
like
isn't
Karma,
gonna do as much.
Seraphine, whatever the fuck.
I do think if specifically
Mm.
that interaction can continue to overperform, to me that sounds like more of potentially, as much as it pains me to say this, more of a BB issue than a Caustic Rift issue.
Yeah, I think that like BB Caustic Rift, you're starting off with like, you know, that's a combination of 2 regions, right? You're basically locking yourself into those regions. And I think specifically, at least our changes will make it so that it is harder to get that combo off than ever before, especially because BB does
Mo and
is
Nick
usually
trying to
pretty
get
vulnerable to
some
removal,
stats
like single
on
combat or
some
something
answers
like a
on
tag
where
out or
aggro is
even
right now.
something like a Hexpliterator.
I mean,
There
they
are a lot
showed
of
aggro.
ways that you
Aggro is
can
getting
remove BB.
nothing, and it's
Obviously,
gonna be
you
shit
can
still. So.
burst
Yeah.
speed,
And we need
make a bunch
aggro to
of,
fucking fix
uh,
that.
barrels.
Paper time
and
not to-
then
time to not
Caustic
touch
Rift,
ladder
which is
for
like a
another
really
month,
smart
but-
play. But then if you do that, then you can kill the barrel, right?
We gotta- we
so
gotta
I
do
do
some
think
brewing.
that generally it's a
What
pretty
is
healthy play
Chad gonna
pattern
build?
of like
Like, there's no shot that combo is
I
not the
think where
strongest.
BB
Like,
actually
stuff
gets
like
kind of
Varus
more
and stuff, it's gonna be
unhealthy is when
combo,
we're
and like,
going
it's
for
basically gonna be like
speed
last
damage.
meta.
When you're going for,
With
like,
aggro
a
not
big,
being
like,
present, it's just
Seraphine
gonna be the
with
same.
Fluttering Song Spinner,
It's gonna be
and
like
then you go
the
for, like, a
greed
warding
competition.
shot
Who
for,
can
like,
go
10
bigger, who
damage.
can go
I
taller,
actually
who
think
can go
that is
wider,
where
that's it.
I think we run into more issues because you can't
I
deal
mean,
with the
that's
barrel or the
kind
BB.
of
You
what it's
basically don't have
been
any
a little
options.
bit already.
Yeah, that's basically the meta that was, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Like, with a bunch of Demacia stuff, and then the stuff that
question
Demacia
from,
counters, that's it.
Wait, hold on
Yeah.
one second. Mo kind of just asked general, like, what your guys' take on, like, aggro in the state that it's in. Like, do you think that there's, like, strong aggro options, or are there, like, things that you're keeping an eye on? Just like the archetype.
I mean, generally, I think we always see strong aggro. Though we did nerf some of the Leona stuff in this patch.
Long pause.
I do think it really sometimes
they forgot.
There's a lot going on there.
Like, what do you consider aggro? I think
it varies from
if I'm thinking, I don't have like the meta deck list off the top of my head, but I do think that Samira Leona is like the very clear aggro player and was like almost statistically one of the best decks. At least a few,
I can't.
Over the course of
How is this guy?
So I think that generally aggro is in a relative.
What were you saying? That even someone as good as Rubinzu can be wrong?
Kind of fundamentally changed how aggro works because you just don't have Rear Guard and Decimate anymore, which really makes it harder.
I know what
for
you mean.
decks
I
like
know what you
Jhin,
mean.
like
my
really
context for saying that was just like if we had to pick one,
all
it would be
consider aggro.
Sure, in the subset of this meta being the whole game, that
something
is
we
the
can
aggro
definitely
deck.
look at moving forward.
Cool.
Yeah, I would definitely say that to me right now, it seems like aggro is skewing maybe like slightly more mid-range, which makes a little more sense with the rotation cuts, or like maybe doing more.
Yeah, which means it's not aggro.
Things. Samira definitely is like propping up strategies.
Oh man, no, Dory man.
You gotta
Audrey,
make
man.
that archetype video sooner than later.
So, well, I think like aggro as a whole is in like a fine state.
And we can collab.
It's in a fine state, they said, aggro.
Hopefully we can get like different flavors of aggro to like have more representation in the metagame.
I think that's a really good distinction to make because I think some people probably think of like pirate aggro and they're like that is aggro. Like this is the type of aggro that I'm used to seeing. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm actually going to answer. There's a question about starter deck reworks, and I'll answer that, and that'll be our last question for today.
Starter deck reworks? Might as well leave.
Nice.
Post on Reddit, hit us up on Twitter. We will answer. So, we have information coming out in the patch notes tomorrow, but we are going to be offering some in patch 4.5, not this next patch. We're going to be offering 7 free starter decks in the store that anyone can redeem. We've been really trying to get them into our tutorial section, but we've run into a lot of interesting scenarios with the code surrounding that. So we are going to get something out.
Nice.
And, yeah,
Spaghetti code having problems, no shit.
I totally agree with y'all. Like,
I mean, like, when you do some of the tutorials, like, they still have, like, the really old cards. You're like, wait,
just fucking fix the tutorial, bro.
Go redeem these free decks. And
I remember there's like Heimerdinger without text and stuff or whatever.
A really nice. They're all going to be
just like a 5-mana.
When he was like,
yeah, they'll only be available until we can get the whole
no
tutorial
decimate,
section
no aggro,
all buttoned up and have those new decks into that tutorial section. It is, yeah, yeah. So, all right, y'all. We are at time here. Thank you so much. I know there's so many amazing questions, and
there's so many amazing questions. Chat is like all spamming the eternal BO3.
Y'all are absolutely awesome. I'm glad that you're here supporting us. Ruben, do you want to any closing remarks?
No, just thanks everybody for being here. We really love doing these streams when we can.
It's fun.
So yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, Briss, any closing remarks?
Okay.
Yep. Just also want to say thanks. Happy to talk to y'all. It's always nice to get to give some context on why we do what we do and hear
everybody's
all the
happy.
questions y'all have.
Except Ash players.
Thanks everybody. We'll see you next
and
time.
Aggro players.
Diego
players.
Gonna have some
and Diego players.
Really focus on
why do we stay losing?
Into the eternal competitor.
Can you tell me
what do you mean we?
Right,
Hello?
see you next time.
What do you mean we? Ash got nerfed. Diego got nerfed.
I don't identify as a Viego player anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we have a lot of odds to say otherwise. You actually have a YouTube video with Viego in it. I don't
Do
think...
I?
Yeah, you do.
That might be true. Okay.
All right.
Good patch notes.
Was it though?
No.